All right, we're getting ready to go live and provide you with some real quotes live. This time, we're going to be covering Temecula. Yes, Temecula, California. Now, this series, if you're interested, be sure to subscribe. Go ahead, click the button. Every Tuesday around 6 p.m., I'm going to do an hour-long live stream. I'm going to give some live quotes in various cities throughout California. And then I'm also going to be doing Arizona, so there'll be a separate playlist for that. We'll be doing some in Texas and Florida as well. Now, if you're not familiar with me or the channel, I'm Dale with Renewable Innovations. I'm an energy consultant. I specialize in solar plus storage solutions, home automation, you name it. When it comes to home tech and energy, I'm probably one of your most reliable sources for it. I do a lot of educational content on my channel, so I like to really dive into the data, look at it, and compare it with other products. So I usually have 3 videos posted every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with some shorts that come along with those videos. So if you're a subscriber, you're going to learn something of value, and whether it's in the solar industry or in the home industry or just tech in general. So this is a new series for me. It's always best for you to reach out and request a custom quote. You can do that by just going to reinnovations.org. Yep, you can see that right at the top of the screen. And you can go to contact and just fill this little form out right here, and voila, I can put together a quote. Alternatively, if you already have quotes and you're just looking for someone to help review your existing quotes that you have with some other contractors, I do offer consulting services for that. You would just go under services and schedule a solar plus battery consultation. And maybe you're looking at EV chargers, you could schedule an EV charger consultation. If you live in my area, I do inverter checkups and solar module checkups. I also do smart home device setups. So if you're trying to integrate the Ring doorbell or anything along those lines, happy to do that. I can help you with warranty claim processes, as you can see right here. So if you got Enphase, SolarEdge, SMA, Fronius, ABB, whatever it is, I've been in the industry for over a decade, and I'm here to assist you in whichever way I can. And of course, if you are in my area and you have an installer that hasn't been giving you the best experience, I would recommend that you schedule a job site installation oversight. I would come out there, I'm gonna just document their installation for you. Just be someone that is an extra pair of eyes if you can't be there and monitor them. So that way you kind of have good documentation on the waterproofing of your project, the electrical work that's done. That way we can catch any potential issues before they arise while they're out there on the job site. It's not something that a lot of people need all the time, but you do get those experiences where your contractor's just taking a really long time, and it's like, come on guys, and you might want someone there because you've been barking at them a little bit. So either way, go to contact, and I'm here to help you whichever way I can. So let's get into this, because we're talking about Temecula homes. So I'm going to try and do 3 properties like the last video. I did Palm Springs last Tuesday. That was the first one, introduction to that. I did have a client reach out interested in a quote, and sadly Axia by QCell had pulled Franklin whole home batteries without sending out any memos. So I sent him a quote, and then he wanted to move forward, and I couldn't populate the contract with the Franklin battery. So kind of a disappointment. I am looking for another partner to offer Franklin whole home batteries with. Right now, I just don't have anybody that's offering it. A lot of partners are really focused on the Powerwall, Enphase batteries, or their own solution. QCell has their own battery system. So that's really what I got. I did get Energy Service Partners in the system. They're another larger firm. They're more my regional partner. Axia is my nationwide partner because they service all California, parts of Texas, parts of Florida, and I think they just added Illinois as well, if I'm not mistaken. So now we got parts of Illinois. Energy Service Partners services mostly California, and they also service parts of Texas. So yeah, I got solutions. ESP also added the IQ10C. So I'm going to be doing maybe some quotes with them on this configuration this time around. So what I want to do is start off with a small, modest system in the Temecula area. So I already got that up. I'm using realtor.com, not affiliated with any of these properties. We're just using them as examples to build a system so you have something as reference. If you're interested in a quote, like I said, just reach out. You can just use the website domain at the top of the screen and click contact, and then just request a hassle-free quote I put together specific to your home, your wants, your needs. As long as I got the equipment, I can get it over to you. And I'm, if it's something I don't have, I'm going to look for another partner to offer it to you. It's not always easy. So, so let's check this out. We probably want to start off with a modest house, 1,500, 2,000 square feet. You should find that relatively easy here in the Temecula area. There's plenty of homes within that range, and then we'll kind of bump it up from there and go accordingly. There's been a lot of price drops. It was one thing I've noticed. Look at this one. This one had a $30,000 price drop. So it's interesting to see what's going on in the real estate market. So we got this one right here. It does not look like it has solar. Really well done. Looks like it might be a flip or something, but let's go ahead and grab this property address. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet. So when I'm designing a system where there's no energy usage, I do 3 watts per square foot, and then that's the system I build. So for 1,500 square feet, we're going to be looking at a 4.5. Oh, look at that. They already got solar. So, well, we're not going to do this one. Cool. It didn't show that really well in the photos, so discard. All right. Well, that happens. I guess you can kind of see it there. All right. Well, let's narrow this down a little more. Let's go more where we don't want to see pending or contingent. Okay, minimum square foot. Let's go 1,500 to 2,000. I think that's a good range to start with. Let's filter that down. This is a nice home on a 1/2 acre. Well, look at the garage. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It does not look like it has solar either. But we know that can be a little misleading. So let's get that over into Open Solar. I use Open Solar for my proposal, so I take all my partners' pricing and put it in here, so I have it in one consolidated place. Yep, we don't have any solar on this house, so let's go ahead and do this design. And what I like about Open Solar is it's a free software for consultants like myself, and it's really robust. They got a lot of great tools. So what was the square footage on this guy? 1864. So 1864 times 3. We're looking at 5.6 kilowatts. So that's kind of what we're going to aim for. I'm going to leave the annual energy consumption at that. So we're going to do 5,592 kilowatt hours. That's what I'm putting in there. And then their tool aggregates like what it estimates based on historical data that they have within there. And then we have the existing utility rate, and then the new utility rate being net energy metering 3.0. Or NEM, or the net billing tariff. It's got a couple names, but it's technically called the net billing tariff. Now, as you can see with Open Solar, it does this awesome 3D map right off the bat, and it's using Google for this 3D data, and it does shading analysis on there, everything, and it calculates degradation, soiling. It does a lot of great things. If you got any questions, by the way, you can always hit me up on the chat, and I can go ahead and answer back live with you. And I got my chat up here at the camera point. So yeah, this is a good property. So let's go ahead and save that. And I don't have to try and measure the property. Most of the partners that I have, Axia and ESP, they use Aurora for their platform for everything. The problem is Aurora is a little slow in my opinion. When I want to just pump out a quick quote. So when you accept a proposal with me, I input it into Aurora, and then I send you your contract, because a lot of those partners have everything else integrated in there. They could save quite a bit of money if they used Open Solar, because it does a lot of the things Aurora does, but hey, I'm not here to run your multi-billion-dollar company. Or million, I should say million. I mean, they're subsidiaries. Q-Cells, Axia is a subsidiary of Q-Cell, the solar panel manufacturer. So here we go. We're going to lay out these Q-Cell Qtron 430 watt modules. Q-Cell's been the #1 solar panel manufacturer like 5 or 6 years in a row. Like, they are just rocking it. Most of their panels are made in Dalton, Georgia, here in the United States. So there we go. 11 panels on this southeast roof. Looks pretty good. As you can see, I can kind of tilt this down. And then here's what I was talking about, the shading. So here's how it does the shading analysis. I know my head's kind of blocking it, but there's actually like a sun axis, and you can kind of see it pulling up like the beams. So it kind of, represents how the sun is, affecting the array, and you can see how the sun is, reaching each individual module. So 92% sun axis on that lower row, 95, 97, 98%. So great sun axis. We'll probably want to go with their microinverters. Qcell has their own microinverters now. So this is a flat concrete tile roof or tile roof, whatever, it doesn't matter in my system, it's the same in there. And so I'm gonna, instead of using the Powerwall, now keep in mind, you might see some pricing in here, like this microinverter price. That's not a real price. It synchronizes over from Open Solar's system. They've partnered up with a distributor, and even though I'm not connected with them, I still get the pricing. And it's like, dude, I don't need it. It does me no good with my partner's pricing because I don't see each individual component pricing. So we're going to go with Qcell's microinverters. On this configuration, you can see the energy production over here on the top, 139% offset. Now under NEM3, you want to try and be between 130 to 150%. Somewhere in that range is going to be ideal for you. You can't do 120%, 100%. That's fine. It's really important to get storage. That's the key factor here. So with this system, we're going to showcase Qcell's Q-Home Core. So their particular battery system is similar to the Powerwall, but with more storage. So I'm going to go over here, add my battery for you. And we're going to just look at my list. And I got, like I said, I got different partners. I got my own SKUs in here and everything. So we're going to grab the Q-Save 20. This is a stackable battery system. I have a video coming out later this month talking about, some of the misleading information with stackable battery designs, whether it's DC or AC coupled. And I think it's really important that you check it out because, you want to go with a solution that's going to last you long term. Don't be sold on like, oh, I can add more storage later. It's not always that easy, and there's just costs that you're not going to be able to avoid, like, new permits, new plans, another inspection, of course, the installation work. So, yeah, it might be a little more right now to get more storage, but it's usually worth it. Happy Tuesday. Topic question. Oh yeah, I actually already did the video for that one. So be sure to be subscribed for the balcony solar video. That'll be coming out later this month. Fun fact on that, AP Systems has balcony solar systems in Europe, and they announced their EZ1 microinverter coming to the United States. So it's a great microinverter that's very DIY friendly, whether you're doing it for a balcony system or just wanting to put in your own solar system for yourself as a homeowner. I really feel microinverters are the best approach for a homeowner DIY solar system. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. That video is already in the pipeline. I'm a lot of my videos I have scheduled out for like a month. So that way I can have a normal life in between and stay productive on other things. So this will be AC coupled. The Q-Save is DC and AC coupled. So if you wanted to add on more solar in the future and you didn't do microinverters, that's fine. They can connect directly to it. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. Thanks for checking it out, and thanks for the recommendation. If you got anything, just let me know. I'm happy to explore it. Just so you know, also, I did a video on portable battery systems as well. So one in particular on the Enphase IQ Power Pack. So if you've been looking at a portable battery for camping or going to the beach, that video is coming out as well. I think it'll tie really nicely with the balcony solar systems because you kind of want storage with it. So, with the Axia system, you need their 200 amp automatic transfer switch. It's their Q-Hub. I think it's called Q-Hub. And that's pretty much it. So this is going to be our Qcell Q-Home Core. And I went with the 20 kilowatt hour battery stack, right? I went with a full stack. I didn't do a smaller system here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to cross compare this system with another partner. We're going to use ESP as an alternative, and we're going to compare this, you're welcome, to that particular partner. It's just for me to do that, I have to go to office mode real quick because I have to go in here and go ESP and ESP, and then I can go back over there, and then it's back. So ESP uses a different module from QCell. They use the QPeak Duo 410 G10 Plus. It's a great panel. It's 405, 410 watts, so it's a slightly lower wattage panel. So yeah, we're going to need to add one more module to the bunch. As you can see, I just added it up in this top row. I'm keeping, and you can see I'm not going edge to edge on the roof, and it's because we have to have fire setbacks. So you got to have clearance. I really think they should just call it service setbacks instead of fire setbacks, because I've spoken to a lot of firefighters and they all say they don't go on the roof. So if like the house has been on fire for 30 minutes or longer, they're not permitted to go on the roof in pretty much all aspects. So, and then they will, since we're going to compare it to an N-phase battery, we're going to switch over to the N-phase microinverters. So we're going to use the IQ8 Plus for this particular module. We can upgrade it to the IQ8M, but the Plus is the standard one from ESP, and they seem pretty set on that as their standardized microinverter. Though I think over time we're going to see more partners switching over to higher wattage micros. Just like QCell has their own, it's a high wattage micro. If you swap it out for N-phase, they give you the IQH instead, which is the highest microinverter N-phase manufacturers in the residential single phase space. So with ESP, we're going to do this, and we're going to grab, yes. So we're going to do two of them because we're trying to compare 20 kilowatt hours, right? So we're going to grab that 10C. Their pricing is configured a little different. It's AC coupled, and we got to grab the IQ Combiner 6 box from ESP. And then I also got to grab N-phase's meter collar. So we're going to get both from N-phase on that. The combiner box is not an automatic transfer switch. It's not like their IQ system controller. This is a different design, but it combines the storage and the solar together, which is needed per the NEC code. You can only have one connection in your utility meter for the solar and storage. So we got both those. The nice thing with that meter collar is we don't have to relocate any circuits. We can just back up the whole house, and you just need to be mindful that you have a system that during a power outage can do a lot, but it does have its limitations. So, so in this one is going to be N-phase IQ 10C, and I'm going to add that this is ESP, and I'm going to add that this is Axia. I put AXQ for them. All right, so we got that all configured. I'm going to hit recalibrate, so it will recalculate all the things within this particular quote for us. It's just a good extra step I like to do. I found sometimes it doesn't always calculate everything, and cool. Now let's jump over to see the proposal. And this is what you would get if you requested a quote from me by visiting the website. This is what it looks like. This is how it appears. Your name's going to appear here. You're going to kind of get some information about the warranties. With Axia by QCell, you get a 25-year equipment, performance, and workmanship warranty. So the modules are covered for 25 years on the equipment side, as well as the microinverters, and then they have a performance warranty on the modules. They guarantee almost 91% power output by year 25, so it's pretty rock solid. So I'm going to enable view as customer, and as you can see, grid independence is a really important number. I customized my proposal to show this number rather than this other one, energy from solar. This is energy offset. A lot of people go, oh, is my system 120% offset or 140? That number is still in here, but it's honestly not as valuable as the grid independence rating that we have up here. Under the new NEM3 program, you want to be above 70%. That's really your goal. It can be hard to be 100%. It really depends on your usage and the amount of storage you get. Sometimes getting that extra 5%, you'll get houses that are at 94% offset. It's not worth the extra battery, right? So, and then this says net system price, but it's the total cost because I'm not showing you the tax credit. I'm being honest here, we can still get your project in probably by the end of the year, but it really depends on how fast you're moving and when you get your quote. There is, less than 90 days before the end of the year and the end of that tax credit. which would shave off for this particular system almost $9,000. So that's pretty good. Lifetime savings is there. And like I said, we're doing a 20 kilowatt hour battery. So this is a 4.7 kilowatt solar system with Q-Cells microinverters and Q-Cells battery system, 20 kilowatt hours. And we got the Q-Home core. You're not going to get whole home backup with this configuration. We're pretty much going to back up all your 15 and 20 amp circuits though. So all your lights, your outlets, you know, the internet, all that stuff's going to be online. But, you know, outside of that, you know, your HVAC wouldn't be included in this configuration. This nice graph on the system performance is showing you how much solar we're estimating you would generate per day on average, and then that gray mountain in the background is kind of what your consumption would be. And you can see self-consumption 73%, and then you're exporting 27% of your solar energy over the course of the year to the grid. And that's value because you're still earning some credits under NEM3. It's not amazing, but you still do earn some credits. Obviously, you can see how the system works. You know, hey, partial at night, pretty straightforward solar battery powering the home. And, you know, this is a good system. 11 panels, microinverters, so you got module level monitoring, and 20 kilowatt hours of storage under $30,000. We're under 29, in fact. So switching over, and you can see we're estimating the existing bill at $155. New bill, about 15 bucks a month. Not too bad. It's going to be hard to avoid all the fees with utility companies. They have fixed costs for being part of the grid. Now, this is from Axia, right? So this is a complete Q-Cell solution. Now let's switch over to Energy Service Partners and look at this system from Enphase. We're still getting 20 kilowatt hours of storage, and we're getting micro level monitoring still, so we still have microinverters. Still 100%. Annual production's about the same, right? Yeah, we're within margin of error here of just variances of the panel. I believe since we added a module on ESP, it's a slightly larger system, which makes sense. But look at the cost. We jumped up to $33,000. Your savings went up slightly, and it has to just do with how the system's calculating degradation of the battery. So while we still have two 20 kilowatt hour systems, Q-Cell reserves 10%, if I'm not mistaken, for just long-term power of the system, you know, for black start and all that good stuff. So you really only get 18 kilowatt hours usable, and that extra 2 kilowatt hours, since Enphase gives you 100% of the battery, you get more. But we did have a noticeable increase in cost, so we went from $29,000 to $33,000. Same amount of storage, same kind of configuration here. We got a 4.9 kilowatt system. We got the combiner box. You got the meter collar. You would think it'd be a little bit cheaper, but there's still quite a bit of components here involved with the Enphase setup compared to maybe like a Tesla Powerwall. And if Q-Cell comes out with their own meter collar, it would probably be even more economical with their configuration, because you don't need that transfer switch and you don't need a sub panel. With Enphase, you still need the meter collar and you still need a combiner box. And their combiner boxes aren't cheap, and the meter collar isn't cheap. So, you know, it's like a trade-off for some space and labor, but it's not a big enough one to make that big of an impact because of how AC coupled systems just work in general. It's still a great system because this one you're going to end up with, you know, more power here. So you're going to have closer to whole home backup with this particular site. You're still generating 139% offset, 73% is self-consumption. But yeah, you're getting that premium price tag because Enphase is a premium product at the end of the day. They really promote themselves as being a premium brand, and you know, they keep emphasizing that long term. Now, my biggest gripe with Enphase is they just keep changing the battery technology and the model like every 18 months. And to me, long-term support concerns me, especially when you have a product with a 15-year warranty. Q-Cell's Q-Home Core is 12 years. They have an AC coupled battery. They have a different one as well that's coming out. I don't have the pricing in the system yet. That Q-Home Core 3 is also AC coupled. That one comes with a 15-year warranty. So, you know, the warranties are pretty comparable here. But, you know, it just comes down to, do you want to spend a little bit more up front? Do you want that Enphase name? They are a good brand. You know, they're publicly traded on the stock market. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just one of those solutions where I think if you're going with the battery system from them, just go with what you need right now, and don't think about adding on. Again, I explained that in another video. But there you go. This is a nice modest system to start off with. We had an 11 panel from Axia and a 12 panel from ESP. Great two systems to compare. Qcells Complete Q Home Core, and then obviously Enphase's IQ10C. I had been waiting on some pricing on the 10C. So let's look for a bigger house, right? Let's get a bigger system, because most people need more than 10 panels, even though the wattage is higher. I figure the most average system that I do is anywhere from 16 to 24 panels. That's usually the average system size, especially when you own an electric vehicle. That adds quite a bit of energy. So we're going to bump this up to 3,500 square feet, and we're going to look for properties about 2,250 and to 3,500. So that one's a big one up for sale. That one doesn't have solar. And I mean, it's in an area where you would be like, oh yeah, I definitely want a big system on that one. That one's 2,500, 23. This one's 26. Oh, this is a nice one. That one's kind of weird. Yeah, $50,000 price drop. Wow, that's 30,000 over here. 2,400. I'm trying to look for one like 28. I think that would be a good one. Oh, right here, 28. It looks like they already got solar though. I can see that up there. So those are usually like the sweet houses, because people are like, oh yeah, cranking out that air conditioner on a 2-story house. They use some juice, that's for sure. This one's pretty nice. 785, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2,600 square feet. Does not look like it's got solar. So let's grab the address and head over to Open Solar and see. Nope, we ain't got solar, and we got great orientation facing south, pretty much, southwest a little bit, which is honestly with how the net metering program works, and you're earning more credits later in the evenings. That's when you want to be using your battery. That makes sense. So we're at 2,600 times 3. We're looking at about 7,800 kilowatt hours as our baseline. Everybody's energy consumption is going to be different. This is where I start with the baseline, then I add 500 watts per person that's living in the household, and then if you own an electric vehicle, we add in that as well, based upon your mileage at 3 watts per 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Yeah. So great 3D modeling, as you can see, pops right up, real quick, simple, easy. I'm going to save that, and we're going to start off with that Axia system. I think let's do the Powerwall on this one, and then I want to do Enphase 5Ps, because Axia still has the Enphase 5Ps, which Enphase is still producing. There's between the 5P and the 10C, so there's plenty of inventory of the 5P, and there's not as much inventory as what I'm understanding of the 10C. So let's go. We're using those 430 watt modules, and that's a skylight right there, so I'm trying to keep some clearance from that in case you need servicing. It's important to know you should have those checked out, because those things are notorious for leaking long term. Yeah, they need their flashings checked quite regularly from my understanding. So we're up to 15 panels right now. Let's see what that says. Let's calculate 127%. That's not too bad. I think we're just going to roll with that in this particular example. We got good orientation. Let's check that shading. So when I click on the modules, I can come over here and do my shading inspection, and I can see just, we are getting quite a bit of shade, and you can kind of see in the corner, the left corner of my head right here, this is that shading analysis. So in the winter months, we can see that January, February, March, solar production is not very strong for this particular site. So we really want to go with microinverters, so that way we really amplify the production. Going with a DC coupled solution, running these modules in strings, probably isn't going to be ideal. It would be in series, but you can. It'll affect the performance of the system. So we know it's flat concrete. Let's grab our microinverter from Qcell. Oh, we're going to do Enphase. Right. Well, let's compare. We'll compare Qcell system two end phases, so we'll do both. And then let's add a battery. I'm going to do 20 kilowatt hours again. We can add more of these. So if you want, 40 kilowatt hours, we can do 40 kilowatt hours. We can do 30 kilowatt hours. Because as you can see, they come in like these stacks. So it's 10, 15, 20. Each battery module is 5 kilowatt hours. The minimum is 10. So let's grab a 20 kilowatt hour battery. And then let's make this backup compatible. So we got backup. I really think it's always worth the money just to get the battery backup equipment. The savings with Axia, I can do it's $1,000 discount if you just want self-consumption. Some people don't need it, and I understand that. That we don't have that many power outages here in various parts of California, especially in the southern part. They do occur, but they're pretty far and in between. So if you wanted to save $1,000, it's important to note you would get a $1,000 discount if you did not want the backup configuration with Axia. So this is Qcells Q Home Core. And then we're going to duplicate this, and I'm going to swap it out for the microinverters with Enphase. And like I said, Axia uses the higher wattage microinverter, the HC. They're very particular about making sure you get the most out of your panels. That's why I kind of like them more as a partner compared to other providers. Some of them just don't want to let you pick the microinverter you want, or that might be a little bit better for the module. And it's not the end of the world. It doesn't make that big of a difference, but again, disregard this pricing that's in here because it's not relative towards anything. And then we're going to add, so we got one main battery, that's usually the main one. And then I have to add 3 secondary units. 1, 2, 3. I think that was the right one, right? Per unit, yeah. So then that's per unit, and then let's swap this out. I am going to have to use the IQ system controller. I don't know if it's compatible. I think only the 10C is compatible. I've only seen things about the 10C being compatible. So IQ system controller. Oh, and I forgot we need the combiner box. This is the thing with Enphase. They got a lot of components being AC coupled. So you'll get the 5C in there. So that's up in there. And this is going to be Enphase IQ 5P. So these are both 20 kilowatt hour solutions. One is one complete vertical stack, really compact. The other one is going to take up quite a bit of wall space. I'm not going to lie, the Enphase setup takes up a ton of wall space. So be prepared to sacrifice an entire garage wall. We're going to click Save on this. And then we're going to go to the proposals. Check this out. Remember, if you want to request your own quote, just visit the website. You can go to Contact. If you already have quotes and you want to review them together and make sure you're getting a good setup, well, you can schedule a paid consultation for that. It's pretty straightforward. Again, 25-year warranties here. Roof penetration's 10 years. That's pretty standard in the industry. I do have leasing and financing options available, so if you're interested in that, I'm just looking at cash for this particular, proposals and simplicity. So we got a larger system here. It's funny, we saw the Qcell Q Home Core with 20 kilowatt hours, 11 panels. It was under 29,000, and now we added 4 or 5 more panels. I think we added 5 more panels. We're at the same cost that Enphase IQ 10C cost, right? And we got a bigger system now. We still got 20 kilowatt hours of storage. So great setup right here, as you can see. Good grid independence, 98%. That's what we want to try and be at. Like I said, it's hard to always be at 100%. You want to be above 70% ideally. Sometimes you may not be able to do it. It really depends on your budget and the battery you go with. But let's compare this to Enphase IQ 5Ps. Holy crap, that's a big jump. That's more than the 10C, but it's a lot more equipment going on. You got 4 5P batteries. So we have the main battery, and then we have the secondary batteries. So those are the extra batteries that go with it. Oh, wait. Looks like I got this set as per unit on that. So hang on, I gotta go change that real quick. So maybe the pricing might be a little off here. Let me fix that. So this one should be main unit. And And those ones are secondary unit. Okay, let's recalculate everything. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's kind of tricky when you're pricing. So what happens is you have the main unit, which carries a lot of the costs, and then the secondary units, all the additional units, they're usually less. So that's why I have it in the system that way. There are other ways for companies to do it. And this is going to calculate 10,604 kilowatt hours. That's a good amount of energy. That's good. That's good production. Look at that, $107,000 in lifetime savings. That's what the Q-cell system. So, oh good. Okay, it went up. Yeah. So yeah, it's a very expensive system. I have the one main unit, and then I have the expansion batteries. I have 3 of them. Yeah, that's just the way it is. Enphase it's a premium product. Would I recommend this? I'd probably show you a quote with the 10C, because that's going to be cheaper, because it's 2 batteries instead of 4 batteries, less work, less equipment. You don't have an IQ system controller and an IQ combiner box. You just have the combiner box and a meter collar, which is cheaper than this other equipment. So yeah, it's a premium upgrade for sure with Enphase, as you can tell. What were we estimating the old bill to be? $231. I mean, you're still seeing great savings with the Enphase system using the 5Ps, but yeah, I could see it going like, hey, Dale, this isn't a great price. What can we do about it? And the only thing I can do about it is, recommend the 10C or a Powerwall or Q-Cell's Q-Home Core. Once I get another Franklin partner in here, I'll be able to, throw in Franklin again. I don't know, it takes some time to get these partners in the system. And yeah, so not too shabby. In my opinion, we're coming up on 40 minutes on the clock. So we got time for one more large system. And that's always my favorite one to do, is the biggest one we can. So this one's been 15 panels, Enphase, Q-Cell versus each other in that configuration. I would personally save the $10,000 difference between the two, but that's just me. And I probably wouldn't even consider the 10C, honestly, because it's still going to be more. We already know that. And it's probably only a couple $1,000s cheaper than this. So with that said, let's go look for a bigger house. What do you think? Let's really crank this up. Let's go like 4,000 square feet to 10,000. 30 houses in that range. Okay. This is in the Temecula area, so we're looking at pretty large homes. This one's nice. That one's 4,000 square feet. This one's 3,800, 4,000, 3,500. All right, well, we're gonna go with this $4,000 one. This is a nice house. Look at that. Look at that pole in the backyard. Oh, it's already got solar. Okay, can't use that one. Can't use that one. Ooh. Okay, we got a nice custom house over here, 2.5 million. Does not look like it has solar. Look at that wine cellar. That's kind of cool. That's cool. This is on Linda Rosa. Okay. So that was the medium size. Oh. Now, oh, looks like they already got solar on this one right here. That's a ground mount. Okay, so that one's out. It would make sense for a $2.5 million home. You'd think they'd have solar. A lot of them don't. All right, let's see. Here's another one. Doesn't look like it has anything. It's so great to see realtors working at their best on a multi-million-dollar home. There's no photos. There's just this one. So good job, guys. Not trying to bust your chops, but jeez. All right, so this one's a big house, just under 4,200 square feet. Easily going to be using, let's see, 12,600 kilowatt hours. That's a lot. That is a lot. Now, I don't think, okay, I do got 3D modeling. Woo, that's close. And you can tell this is still in construction phase. Now, if I didn't have this, I could, if you have a newer home, I have to use near maps. So then near maps I do have to pay for. for each one, and then I usually get more current 3D modeling, because they're flying drones over properties on a regular basis. If you ever hear a drone overhead, it's probably them. So this is going to be a multi-array system. We're going to go Powerwall, right? We've been doing Q-cell, we've shown Q-cell, we've shown N-phase. Okay, great question. So again, I start my kilowatt hours off at 3 watts per square foot. So at 3,800, I'm going to be basing my starting point at 11,400 kilowatt hours a year for the home's general consumption. Then, depending on how many people live in the home, I will add 500 kilowatt hours per person, and then go over other variables potentially in terms of what your energy patterns are. Those are things I can input in my system and get you a good number. So if you had 4 people living in that house, you'd add that on top of the 11,400. So then you'd be looking at 13,400. Again, everybody's usage is a little different, but I found my 3 watts per square foot as a good baseline to start most properties off at when you don't have an energy profile to go with. I like to also look at your history on a past house, and then I'll scale it up based upon the variance in percentage, the variance in the system or the home sizes. So if you had a 2,000 square foot house and you're bumping up to 3,800 and you were using 8,000 kilowatt hours over there, well, we're increasing 150%. So that lines up, right? If you were using 8,000 kilowatt hours on a 2,000 square foot house, you bumped it up. Yeah, you're welcome. But this one's going to be pretty close within that range of what you're looking at. And like I said, we're going to go with the Powerwall on this. So we got a couple different orientations. I'm going to fill in. Now the thing here is, since this house is relatively new, the shading data is going to be a little different. I have this cool back end feature where I can do offset, so I can just go like this and line it up. And this layout might change based upon the actual site. If there's vents or something in some places that we can't see right now in this construction photo of the property. So there we go. It's kind of hard to say. I think this is like a ridge line right there. So we're going to go about right here with that group of panels. I don't think I can go anywhere over here because I think this is a second story transition. Yeah, maybe not. I think I can put a panel there. I just need to do auto elevation and lift this up. There we go. So, and this one I could do a ground mount on, but I don't really want to do a ground mount. It's a little more time consuming to build that out. So that looks probably pretty close. It's going to shift around in reality. And you can see I'm up to 19 panels. We're at 102%. So this house doesn't have a lot of orientation. Look at all these hips and these valleys going on. This makes it pretty difficult to find the space you want for the solar. And right now you can see down, if I point down, that's south, this is west. So right now we got most of the modules on the southwest roofs. Now we do have some space maybe here, but yeah, I just not feeling this space too much. But we're gonna try, because we need a couple more panels to get this. And I'm gonna enable offset since this is going at an angle. Like, where is the box for the previous row? There we go. That one's not going to fit there. Yeah, that's probably hitting that cap right there. Ooh, that's tight. You got to be 18 inches from hips and valleys. Usually you're okay on ridge caps. I mean, they would like to see 18 inches continuously. So we'll nix that guy. But we do need like one more panel. So what I'm going to do is just duplicate this which I can do with this. So I can duplicate this. I'm going to move it over here and scale it that way. So there we go. Kind of line it up. So it's a little more symmetrical with the roof. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. Maybe I can shift this guy over like that. That looks pretty good. So we got 25 panels. It's finalizing the calculation. We're at 136% before I factor in anything else. This is flat concrete. We're going to go microinverters because we have multiple arrays here. Q-cell. And then we're going to go with this one. I'm thinking we're probably going to want to go with 3 power walls. This probably can do 2. We'll do a design on both. So we'll do 2 power walls and then we'll do 3 power walls. So power wall main unit. Now my main unit and my expansion are different with the power walls because the expansion are ones that don't have an inverter in them. So the price doesn't really change here. And then with that, you know what? We're going to go DC coupled on this. We're actually going to go DC coupled. And I'm going to do that because then I can do the meter collar. So if you go with the DC coupled configuration with Tesla, you can use the meter collar, which, is worth it, because you're backing up the whole house. Assuming this house has a 200 amp service, a home this high, large, might have a 400 amp service, which would mean we have to put in, we have to use the gateway. So then in that case, you might as well use the microinverters. But let's assume it has a 200 amp service. A lot of people put in on new construction 400 amp panels, and it's like just like a little overkill in my opinion. I got backup switch right here. So BKS, so we got it selected as DC coupled. All right, so this is 3x power wall, 3. And then we're gonna duplicate this. We're gonna go 2x power wall 3. And I mean, Q-Cell scales their system. What's throwing Q-Cell? Screw it. We'll do 20 kilowatt hours with 3 units or 2 units. Yeah, we can do 3. Why don't we do 3? We'll do 3x Q-Cell Q home core. So this is going to be 60 kilowatt hours. Curious to see how the pricing is going to work out. I'm going to use their hybrid inverter still. Actually, I'm going to use micros because Q-Cell, you have to use their transfer switch no matter what. So we're just going to use microinverters so you get the best experience with this product. Let me switch out the backup switch for their hub. Boom. And that's it. There's not much else for me to add here. Remember, if you're interested in getting a quote, just visit us online. You can go to reinnovations.org. That link's at the top. Go to the contact page. It's free. I put together your quote based on your home, and your requests. So, what do you think? Do you think Q-Cell is going to be cheaper? I think it's going to be more, but man, it's 60 kilowatt hours. So that's a lot of juice. A lot of freaking juice. Oh, hang on. I didn't hit recalculate. We want to make sure this all calculates right. Well, we can see the production jumped up from the microinverters versus DC coupled. So it is a trade-off because your round trip efficiency goes down. So while your production went up, you end up losing that variance, that increase, just due to the round trip. So let's hit save. This is a big house. Remember, we're doing this home that has no photos for $2.4 million. Good job, guys. Good job. Doing your job. You're really earning that commission, guys. Gosh, I hope they're not paying them more than 1%. No, I'm kidding. You guys get enough hard shit. All right, so this is loading up. We're at 101% offset with the 3 power walls. If we go 2, we're at 99. See, this is one of those situations where it's like, is it going to be worth that second power wall? Probably not. What about Q-Cell? 101%. We got 60 kilowatt hours. So this is going to be big systems. So keep that in mind. So 3 power walls, not too bad. $65,000 on this property, right? And I'm assuming we're using the backup switch. So that price could go up if we have to use the backup gateway. So if we have to use the backup gateway, I mean, that's going to be a big difference. But you're looking at 40 kilowatt hours from Powerwall, 34.5 kilowatts of inverter power output. It's a 10.8 kilowatt solar system. This is a good system, 137% offset. So even if you didn't know what your usage is, this is a system that's probably going to last you, or at least let you grow into it, even if you don't use this much energy yet when you bought this home. So 65,000, I don't think it's too bad. And now that price comes down, right? So look at that, we shave off about 11,000 bucks, 12,000 bucks by dropping off a Powerwall. So then we're going to have 27 kilowatt hours, still good savings here. And if we're looking at what the estimated bill is, we're at $400 a month, right, with the utility power. So by going solar, even with the Powerwall, just 2 Powerwalls, we've offset it. We've gotten you down to 16 bucks a month, and you're looking at damn near $200,000, $188,000 to be exact, in utility savings over 25 years. The equipment's gonna last over 20 years. Especially the modules. The battery technology, it does degrade, but what we're finding is that they kind of hit a levelized spot. Tesla has the most data out there, and many people, you can go on Reddit and you find plenty of Tesla Powerwall 2 owners that are posting information about their systems. And a lot of them are not degrading all that bad. A lot of them are maintaining 90%. They're 6, 7, 8 years old, and you got to keep in mind they have a 10-year warranty. So Tesla's designed a good product, and so is Q-Cell, so is Enphase. Many of these batteries are going to outlive their warranties, so don't worry too much. It's just their storage capacity is going to decrease over time. Another reason why to just get more up front, so that way you're accounting for in that. Now Q-Cell obviously is more than even 3 Powerwall 3s, but you got 60 freaking kilowatt hours. That's a lot of storage, and it does save you more. So, you know, we went from 190,000 to 193,000. So that's an extra $4,000 in savings over 25 years. That's not too bad. If you factor that into this, we're really, only, $4,000, $5,000 over the Tesla one. So I don't know. I don't think that's too bad. This does have a longer warranty. So Q-Cell does 12 years. And if you lease the systems, I believe you get a longer warranty than that. I don't know if you can go this big on a lease. I would have to double check in the system because I don't have the leasing integration on Open Solar. I just have pricing. But yeah, it's not too bad, honestly. To save $200,000 over 25 years, that's pretty good. I mean, that's really good. Yeah, payback 12 years. Yeah, I mean, you don't got the tax credit. Going with the 2 Powerwalls is probably the best, and honestly, probably just doing 2 Q-Cells is honestly more than what you need. Which, let's go back over to the design. This is how nice it is. When customers are like, oh, can you change this? They're like, oh, if it's not too much of it's not a hassle for me. Now I can duplicate a system real quick, take the design you already wanted, and just quick modify it. Down 2 batteries now. So now we're going to change that, hit recalculate, hit save. A lot of the times I'll just talk to you on the phone and update the quote, and then hit, hey, refresh your browser, and it's instantly there. I love that. I don't have to email you or anything. Some of these other tools, it just annoys me. The sales experience is just crap, in my opinion. I like things streamlined. I like them efficient. So that's a really good reason why I use Open Solar. And there's a lot of other companies that do too. I just put it out there that I use it. So where are we lit? 59. So we ended up being less than 3 Powerwalls, which, mind you, 3 Powerwalls is 40 kilowatt hours. So switching over to 2 Q-Cell 20 kilowatt hour stacks, which is still 40 kilowatt hours, it ends up being less. So that's not bad. And your savings is still there. You're averaging 11 bucks a month with utility costs. I mean, that, versus $400 a month. And keep in mind, on a house like this, could you imagine your summer bill? It's going to be like $1,000. I mean, this is an average. So summer is going to be pretty high. All right, so there we go. $59,450. That's pretty damn good. And you get the microinverter. See, we're not getting the microinverters with Tesla because we wanted to use the backup switch. Now we could, but your pricing is going to change a little bit because we're going to use the backup switch. We're going to put in a sub panel. That stuff's accounted for with Q-Cell systems because that's how it's configured. Whereas Tesla's technically designed for using the meter collar. So Not bad. Savings is a little more with 2 Q cell batteries too. So that's it. I mean, I stayed under an hour this time. We're at 55 minutes. I really appreciate your time. And if you got any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you right now. There's the Enphase. Oh, that's Q cell. Enphase system right over there. This was but yeah, I think this was a great thing. I'm going to be doing another city next week. I think I'm going to be out in Palm Desert. So we'll be doing some designs out in the desert area again. And then I'm going to jump over to Marietta. And then I have one closer to the end of the month in Riverside. So we're going to look at some properties in Riverside. If you got any cities you want me to explore and check out for sale, just let me know. And I will, add it to my queue, because I'm going to be doing this every Tuesday around 6 p.m. I'm going to be going live for about an hour. So that way you can get a live quote for your particular region. Keep in mind, these are estimates. These aren't exact quotes to your specifications, but they're kind of real world enough to give you a good idea of what you could expect to pay. That's why I like doing 3 systems. We did a small, medium, and a large configuration. I showed you different partners at the same time, not just one installer. I also showed you a second one. I showed you the IQ10C. I'm a really straightforward, transparent kind of consultant. I just feel that's the best way to approach this industry moving forward with the 30% tax credit expiring. Axia's Q cells, Axia by Q cells turnaround times about 55 days on average. So I can get a system installed from start to finish, permission to operate, turned on under 55 days. Energy Service Partners likes to promote a much faster process. They're typically around 45 days, 35 days. So, but it does depend on your particular system. Some systems and jurisdictions just take longer. So that's why, I'm giving you an average. So there's still time if you're looking to make the switch before the end of the year to clean renewable energy and make claim to that 30% federal investment tax credit. I'm here to help you in whichever way that's possible. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.